Hello guys, what's going on? It's your boy Solsik here from MBT Studios, and today we're gonna be talking about the Hifiman Sundara headphones. This headphone right here is a planar magnetic headphone from Hifiman, the newest version. And if you take off the pads right here, you see the planar magnetic drivers, which is quite a larger diaphragm than normal dynamic drivers, and therefore, we'll get into the advantages of it, but it's a bigger sound. And the pads here is what they call the pally pads, and it's soft, very nice texture, very comfortable feeling on your ears. And so in talking about the build quality, I quite like it. It's a new headband design. It is a bit rattly and it does feel a little bit cheap at first, but when you hold it in your hands, it doesn't feel so cheap. It is all metal and it feels like quality when you have it. However, it does rattle a little bit, which is a bit worrisome at first, but when you have it on your head, it doesn't rattle, it doesn't make any noise. So I didn't find that to be a big problem. Now with that being said, I believe the build quality overall has changed significantly. I remember Hifiman headphones breaking apart all the time. However, now their headphones are really sturdy. It sounds as good as before, even if it's not even better. And the headphone jack over here is now recessed, so it's nice and clean. It doesn't have the cheap connectors like the HE400i over here. I found this to be a problem because I've had clients and I have experienced it myself, where you pull the connector out and this ring thingy comes out with it, and therefore it needs to be replaced constantly. And so I found this to be a big problem with the HE400i in terms of build quality that I didn't know before. Now with that being said, the Sundara does not have this problem. It is perfectly clean. It is matte black. The grills are very nice texture. I just love touching it. And overall, from the plastic bands over here to a metal band was a nice upgrade from Hifiman. It feels much more sturdy and it is a much nicer headphone. And now I can say that the build quality matches the sound quality of Hifiman. Now, however, there is a concern with these headphones, the newer versions. So I have the HE5, which looks almost identical to the Sundara in a way. There are concerns with this metal band, and that is the screws over here. These screws kind of come off quite easily, and although you can tighten it, sometimes it just falls apart. So a solution I found to that was you either super glue it when you first get it so it doesn't come off at all at any point in time. If you super glue it, it will not come off. Or you just keep putting it back on. Or you may not have this problem at all. Depends on the Hifiman headphone you're getting. Now, enough said, let's go into the sound quality, because that's where it really becomes interesting. Let's start with the high frequencies. So I'm gonna compare the HE400i over here, because this is a classic Hifiman headphone and it kind of falls under the same lineup. This is the newer version, the Sundara and the HE400i. So the brightness and overall vocal sibilance is higher on the HE400i than the Sundara. The Sundara is a little bit more forgiving and is less bright than the HE400i, which we are used to. And HE400i, don't get me wrong, it's a good headphone. And especially right now, it has an incredible sale going on for $179. Retails for $500. This is a $500 headphone. This is a $500 headphone as well. And basically, this is replacing this. And now this is going on sale for $179 on Amazon. And although it's an incredible deal, I like the Sundara much better. I'll tell you that right off the bat right now. However, let's get into why. There is more air on the HE400i than the Sundara. However, HE400i is a brighter headphone and it has more vocal sibilance, making it sometimes harder to listen to. For example, when I'm listening to songs like the Hallelujah by Pentatonix, there's a lot going on, and that is a very euphoric song in itself. When I hear that with the HT650 from Sennheiser or the Sundara, I get a lot of euphoria. However, when I'm hearing with the Hifiman, it gets a little bit too busy, a little bit too sibilant in the vocal range. Another song I really enjoyed with the Sundara is the Batches Air on the G string, which is a classical music. And on that song, the instruments sounded really forgiving on the Sundara, given that Tidal doesn't have the best version. However, with the HG400i, it was a little bit brutal at times listening to that song. Another song that comes to mind is a song by Kenny G, who is my favorite saxophone artist. And on this specific track, on the Sundara, it sounded absolutely beautiful and jazzy and romantic. Whereas on the HG400i, it was a little bit, again, hard to listen to, a little bit more bright, a little bit more strident. So if you are a fan of, really, really high detail, then the HG400i may be a better headphone for you. However, if you're like me and can't stand bright sound, vocal sibilance, and etc., then the Sundara might be a better choice. Now, moving on to the mid-range, the instruments and vocals both sounded equally realistic on the Sundara as it was on the HG400i. The mid-range was absolutely beautiful on both. However, the Sundara had more girth, it had more authority, and it had more euphoria again in the vocal range. For example, one of my favorite tracks, House of the Rising Sun, specifically the Season 4 version, has this beautiful male vocal in the beginning of the song, and it is very authoritative, it is very rumbly, and it is a very deep voice. And with that being said, with the Sundara, I could really feel that. I could really feel it. It was a euphoria that I did not want to forget. Whereas on the HG400i, it sounded a little bit lean compared to Sundara. And don't get me wrong, it sounded good, but the Sundara sounded even better. A more modern song that I listened to was Shawn Mendes' new song, There's Nothing Holding Me Back. In the beginning of this song, he is picking the guitar, and it's a beautiful guitar sound. However, with the Sundara, it was more natural, more, again, forgiving, and you could really enjoy the euphoria of the guitar strings and the impact of him picking the guitar. Whereas on the Hifiman, it was a little bit too strong, in my opinion. Another song, and I really love the meaning of this song, you should listen to the lyrics of this song, is Heaven. And in this country song, the Sundara was so euphoric, so fluid, yet it had the details, it had the euphoria factor, as well as the rumble in the bass, which we will get into in a minute. Whereas the HG400i, again, a little bit more sibilant in the vocal ranges and in the instruments. Now getting to the bass. Now the bass is a hard win for the Sundara. The mid bass and the extension down to the lower frequencies, the Sundara clearly wins. So the impact, the punchiness, especially in the song Deja Vu Affair. This song in the beginning, you get really a big boom, 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 boom. Listen to it, you know what I'm talking about. Now, in that track, this headphone, the Sundara, really gave it a nice punch. You could feel it, you were like, oh yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Whereas in the HG400i, you really got like boom, 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 boom. That's what it felt like. So immediately, I fell in love with the Sundara much more than the HG400i. Now, one of the tracks I love to play is The Flight of the Cosmic Hippo. And this song goes down, it's a jazzy song, but it goes down, up, it's a crazy song. When you play it on the speakers, some speakers literally clip playing this song, but not so much on headphones. Anyways, when playing this song, the Sundara fared quite well. It went down low and back up, low, back up, no problem, and it went down to a satisfying level. Whereas on the HG400i, not so much. Not so much. It was more of a jazzy song. The imaging is slightly better on the Sundara, and in terms of soundstage, the HG400i wins slightly. So in terms of imaging and soundstage, there was not a big difference to tell. And also in terms of driving the Sundara, the specs tells us that the Sundara is harder to drive than the HG400i. However, I didn't find this to be the case. I found the Sundara and HG400i to go hand in hand when it comes to requirement for power. In my experience, both the Sundara and the HG400i were equally loud at the same volume. So if you look at the drivers here, this is the Sundara and this is the HG400i, and they look quite similar. However, I am amazed by the fact how different these headphones sound. And of course, the pads are different. The HG400i has the Focus A pads, whereas the Sundara has the new Dally pads. However, for those of you wondering, is it the pads? Is he hearing the differences with the pads? Because the drivers looks almost identical. No, I've tried the Sundara with the Focus A pads and the Dally pads, and back and forth, I heard very small differences. And definitely different from the HE400i. And a side-by-side comparison with the new Ananda headphones, I kinda liked some parts of the Sundara better than the Ananda. So the next headphone I will be reviewing is the headphone that is almost identical to the Sundara in terms of looks. However, the sound is very different. It is the Hifiman HE5 SE headphones. So stay tuned for that one. Make sure you like this video and subscribe and stay tuned. I'll see you guys in the next video. Shh.